Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to the garden. It's been a long time, but I wanted to do a quick update. It's December 22nd, so we're here in Pearl City at the Urban Garden Center, and I wanted to show you some of the things that are still being very successful in the garden and that we're harvesting, and we are learning things to plant in the fall where we can get a really good harvest and not battle so much with bugs, disease, etc., and make it easier to grow. So let's see what we've got going on here. So I did a quick harvest. We still have some different types of beans. We have some lima beans and some of those long flat beans. Sometimes they're called Italian green beans. We still have those to harvest. But look at the Swiss chard, how big and beautiful this is. So this is a Ford Hook variety of Swiss chard. Fall and winter is the perfect time to grow it. It's slightly cooler and it's also more moisture in the air. So that's our second harvest, and they are looking fantastic. This is Mizuna, again, looking really good to harvest. Some of these greens, if you're not familiar with them or you don't know what to do with them, just chop them up really fine and throw them in with scrambled eggs. And of course, soup is also always good, which is great because you think, oh, I have one leaf to harvest. Harvest it and throw it in and add some nutrients. These eggplants, they are looking actually much healthier. They were getting stressed at the end of summer. I'll show you what I did to the plant. And then these are yard-long green beans. We've been trying to grow them all summer. The plants struggled, but they are kicking into production now and doing very, very well. So the garden itself is in transition. As we finish up things, we're trying to settle things down and let the winter weather work for us. Our winter weather is wet. So this is a big chunky harvest, so things that got big, tomato plants, etc. And we leave it open so that the rain can get in there. Moisture really, really helps with the decomposition. This is our dry zone, our dry bed. I wanted to show you this plant here. Do you see this entire thing? It's about 4.5 feet in diameter. This is periwinkle, vinca. It's one of the varieties. There's different varieties. So there's this one, you see this, and you see this one. He's much smaller. We just transplanted that from another bed. This is one plant, and it has been growing here. It hunkered down when we first planted it, and it hunkered down for a couple of months, and then we let it grow how it wanted to grow naturally. So it only gets watered with rainfall, or if it's really dry, and we're not going to water it now because we've had some rain, but if it's very, very dry, we'll come and water it deeply once a week when we come here and visit. So this is what the plant should look like. It's a drought tolerant plant. If you give it too much water, it actually doesn't get to its maximum potential. But you can see how big it is. You only need one plant. This is planted in a raised bed, but in the ground, so different growth than if it was in a pot. But look at how beautiful and carefree. We didn't do anything to this. Such an easy plant to have, and you don't have to deadhead it, and it just blooms like this continuously for as long as it lives. This is a very underrated plant. This is the periwinkle or vinca. It comes in different varieties. I think that's the bigger flower like that. They tend to be hardier than these hybrids with the little flowers on here. So this is a Thai basil. And just to remind you that the key to keeping the basil going on and on for as long as possible is to tip it. So even if you don't want, so I'm just clipping it with my thumb tip. Even if you don't want to harvest it, you do need to stop it from blooming. And we weren't able to keep up with the other plants, and they got bloom spikes, and the plant went into a different mode, and then it was mature and done. But if you keep it pinched off on the tips like this, then the plant, you can get years from these plants, but you got to keep up with this. And then I just throw that down onto the soil, and then it will just decompose. So again, this is Thai basil, really nice for soups. It really makes a difference if you're making a brothy soup, to have fresh basil in it. It's what really makes it delicious when you go to the restaurant. But you do have to do this all the time. Once you get this, a bigger spike, if you let the whole bush get covered with those, then it triggers something in the plant that it's done. And then the plant will turn woody. And if you cut it back, you're not going to get any new growth. So, like I said, we lost 2 other plants during the summer because we didn't keep up with this pinching off as well as we should, but we were able to save this one. So we'll see how long we can get this one going. And you want to keep it. So these are buds. They haven't bloomed yet, and if you can catch them when they're in this bud stage, that's better. Don't wait until it's bloom and then cut off the blooms, right? So if you wait till they all get like this, and then you want to pinch it off, well, your plant has been triggered to go into a different cycle. These are vincas that we transplanted from another spot. They got really happy over there, and then when we transplanted them, we did transplant it when we had a series of rain for about a week. So you can see they're in shock, but they may come back. So we're just going to let it go and see what's happening. Of course, comfrey is always happy with rain. And this guy, look at this guy. This is a type of celosia. It has these long tails. So it's looking a lot different than it did the first time. So the first time, the tails got to be at least 18 inches long. Really, really beautiful. I cut it way back, like almost to a stump. And then it came back, so we just let it go. And we didn't get as vigorous growth the second time around, but it's quite interesting to look at, so we're letting that be. Some of the babies from that are here. So the new growth from fresh seeds that have fallen onto the ground, clearly a better growth. And this is just really, really beautiful. This one is just one plant, so we've got 3 in here. It'll be really full. Again, a very easy to grow plant. You don't have to deadhead it. Don't pick the flowers if you want those tails to get really, really long. And then the tips of the tails have these pink, whereas these, it matured very quickly the second time around. So it didn't get as long of a life of prettiness, but these are fresh and they will be ready to go. And look, they're really going to go to town and grow all winter long. So during the winter time here in Pearl City, we're going to get these beautiful, beautiful, vibrant colors on these flowers, and you don't have to do anything to it once it starts growing. We have some tomatoes growing here. So if you see, we have some tomatoes in there. We shall see. Some varieties do okay with the winter, some not so much. It just depends on how much rain we get during the winter time, whether these will, sometimes it's just a little bit too much. And of course I'm going in here and pulling off the suckers for to control. See this little thing? We don't want that. We don't want the branches. We want to grow fruit. And then we have the sweet potato. There was a piece in there, and it just sprouted again. So you see this guy? He's coming out here. The fruit is up here, but we don't want another branch. We want fruit. So here we've got some fruit. We shall see how well this does. I don't know the variety of this one, but again, we shall see. So so far it's looking pretty good. Oh, we've got fruit nice and low, so that one's doing pretty good. 2 tomatoes here. Tomatoes, actually, what I like to do is I like to get them started in January, February. They get deep roots set in place, and then when it's hot, they have their watering system set in place with those really deep roots, and then I find that the plants are healthier and don't get as stressed when the summertime comes. So always good to have flowers growing. Marigolds, these marigolds have done well for us in the past. And then another of this celosia tucked in over here because I know how big that's going to get. I keep trying to pop in peppers over here, and they're not making it from one week to the next. All right, and then here's another celosia. I popped him in there, and he's doing really well. Okay, so we have an eggplant here and an eggplant here. 2 different varieties. One's a Waminola long, the other one is Pomoho, and I had cut them back hard. I'm going to try and see if you can see. I cut it way back so that the plant was only maybe 10 inches off the ground. Both of them, cut them way back. And they have come back with a flourish. I just harvested those beautiful plants. And actually, from the time that I cut it back, hard, 2 weeks later, this was covered with eggplant, baby eggplant about this long. So it doesn't take long to regrow. Here in Hawaii, you should be able to get harvest from an eggplant for a couple of years if you keep pruning it back and you keep it healthy. If it's looking scraggly, you find your fruit is not doing really well, cut it back really hard and then let it regroup and get its energy back and see what you can do. You will be surprised that second time around what you can get. So you only need 1 eggplant for most families, and you'll get a continuous harvest almost year round. So we've had good success over here. This is a borage. It's a great plant to have in your garden. It draws a ton of bees. I think there are some sort of medicinal things to it. I'm not too familiar with it. I know the flowers are edible. But here's where we harvested our Swiss chard, our Mizuna. We have these gorgeous, I can't remember the variety of this. Look at this. Now they're supposed to grow really low like this. These are zinnias. And so we had some others that we grew that were really well, different variety, and they were about 2 feet tall, and these grow really good. But look at all the colors in there. These are really pretty. They've grown really well. It didn't take long for them to get to the bloom, so that's really nice. And you see how we've got this? We're just tucking them in with, we don't have rows or anything. You know, there's 3 Swiss chard here, there's 2 Mizuna. You just need a few things tucked in here and there, and then get your flowers in. You can definitely grow this in your front yard in little spots. It's just tuck things in and grow something. It's so rewarding. And if you're looking to introduce your children to more variety in their diet, grow your own. Look at these beautiful colors. I mean, they will just love it. And this is a Ford hook, but you can get I think it's called Rainbow Brights for Swiss chard. And this rib part will be hot pink, brilliant, deep yellow, brilliant red and purple. It's really pretty. This scraggly looking thing is a yard-long bean. I see some disease setting into it, but you know what? It's not as stressed as it was this summer. And we got that harvest off of this plant, that harvest that I showed you earlier. So yes, you can get a harvest from a little thing. Look at this little one. And he's blooming. Look at how cute that is. They do better in the ground than in a pot. Just because this is little doesn't mean it has little roots. So if you do grow something like this in a pot, make sure your pot is deep. It can be deep and narrow, but if it's just a shallow little thing, you're not going to have good success. There's not enough soil in there for the nutrition and the water. But you see this borage, this is one plant, and it just kind of sends out these arms and does its thing. So it's the first time we've grown it here, and it's really pretty. It's a nice blue flower to have in the garden. And we have somebody here who is experimenting with, you can see he's got a squash growing there. He's experimenting with growing things in a very restricted area, like if you had a patio in an apartment and different things. So one of the master gardeners here, this is kind of a project, and he's keeping up with that. And I'll have to let you know later on his results from that. So I see another squash here, but it's very densely packed. He's got some things here. Again, this is our amazing petunia that just keeps on going. It is about 5 feet in diameter. That is one plant, and it was looking a little scraggly, and then we got cooler weather and more water, deeper water, and every once in a while, and it's doing well. This is okra, and we're just kind of leaving it grow, just to show people. It's interesting. You could grow that in your front yard as an ornamental. We've got a variety of things growing here, sort of like a cover crop. We didn't know what to do. This soil here has been very, very stressed. So we're just letting a bunch of cover crops grow, letting them go to flower. The bees are back and really happy. Over here, more zinnias, different variety. We've got some basil and then some Swiss chard. So let me show you here. So this is our in-ground compost. So this bucket is set down into the soil. On the very bottom, there are a couple of holes about 2.5 inches in diameter. And around the bottom base, on the sides, there are holes as well. That lets water drain. That also lets all the decomposers come in and out. Because with this system, you need to leave the lid on it. You don't want to leave it open. But I opened it up today and I looked. Now, this is not premium like in a big compost pile system. However, once I saw that from 1 week to the next, we have a lot of this, like, you can really see it's coming apart, and it's black, and then down there's probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches down. I'm going to harvest this. I'm going to pull this all out, and I'm just going to sprinkle it in this garden here with this compost. It's a super easy way to compost in place in small gardens. I'm sitting here on the raised bed. I just have to lean over, pull it out, and sprinkle it around. So this is another experiment we've been working on, and really looking forward to the public coming in January. I think we're going to start to open to the public and sharing this with people, because we want to make it easy and successful for people to not just grow, but to nourish in their garden. So nourish the soil, nourish yourself, whether it's your body or your emotional health, your mental health. So we really want to make things easy and successful for people in their home gardens. And so this one, we had some tomato that got a bunch of disease. So he is gone. This guy grew, and then somebody came and nibbled, And we've got this sunflower that volunteered from a previous harvest. It's amazing how it wants to grow. So it fell over when we had that windstorm. Look at all the buds that it's popping out, and look at the root. It's half exposed. So I'm going to dump some soil on there and help it out. This is our lima bean. Again, he's struggling. There is some pest on there, but it still really wants to make its own harvest. So that guy. So that's the garden. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've done a video, and I wanted to share with you what's been happening here. Just because it's wintertime here, again, you should still be able to get a harvest. There are certain things that you can get, and it's not just lettuce. You can have, good morning, Bodil. Thank you so much for watching. I don't know if you're still somewhere in Africa or if you're back home in Norway, but welcome. It's so good to see you. So yes, I'm here in the garden and sharing all these things. You can still get a great harvest during the wintertime. So I'm going to show you again our harvest. So these yard-long beans, eggplant, mizuna, Swiss chard, and then another type of bean. It's a flat bean or an Italian green bean there. And so you can still get a great harvest in the winter because it's the end of December. But for those of you far, far away, Bodo, I don't know if you have any blue sky. It's a beautiful day today. We have beautiful blue sky, and I'm going to show you our lavender has done really, really well. It's still going strong and looking lovely. Again, it's another plant that you have to harvest. So these need to be harvested. You harvest down here, and then it keeps coming back and coming back. So this is one lavender that's done quite well for us. It smells lovely, and that's us in the garden. So beautiful day this morning. You folks have a wonderful Christmas and New Year's if I don't come back and video for you folks. Again, thanks for watching. You folks stay safe and have a great holiday.